Howdy folks, welcome back to Rookie Reviews. I've got a tournament set between Metagross and Evaporado? Evoprodo? Metagross and Evoprodo. So we've got 3 games today from the tournament, so there's at least 1 loss from both of them. First map is on Simai, which means this must have been round 2 of Tage's tournament. This was the Rookie Tournament number 1. Both of them take the sidewall. evoprodo takes, oh, Rookie Reviews, right, so I need to pause and talk about stuff. This is kind of hard. What they did is they both agreed to take the sidewall. That's a pretty safe thing to do. One thing you can do, you need to be careful against better players, is that I wouldn't, as Fire, I wouldn't take the first well before Shadow. Shadow has a little bit better defensive capabilities because of Dredge Charger Nasty, and, at least in the early game, before you can get 2 Sunders out. So, that's something I would be thinking about on this map. But neither one of them wants to pressure, but I believe what Metagross could have done is he could have waited here, pretended he was going to take a well, and then once evoprodo took the well, he could come and rush. That's a pretty reliable way to win against somebody. You can do that as Shadow against Fire, or even as Fire against Fire. I'm not sure if you can do it as Fire against Shadow, depending what you have. If you don't have Sunder, it's going to be really hard. So Metagross comes in, looks like he's going for a Nasty. evoprodo, good job taking him down, so he's got low health. Here comes the Thugs, and so far T1 fight, everybody's looking pretty good. He should be focusing these Thugs, and then this scavenger down pretty much. This guy could be motivated so that he, the motivator just kill him so that he stops binding power. And Metagross looks like he's got a pretty good lead in the beginning of this map. So Metagross, you should kill this guy. Definitely kill this guy. Unless he's looking for a motivate, but I mean he could come into attack here with motivate. But if you're going to be taking like 5 minutes to walk around and attack here, I wouldn't do it. Metagross takes the well here, which it's hard to say. Like on one hand, in the early tier 1, Shadow's so strong, this kind of close well distance where you can just make Forsaken and attack. It's pretty powerful. This guy needs to die. It's pretty powerful. On the other hand, okay, he does take the well here. If he was going to take the well, what I would have done, so let's talk about tempo advantages right now. So right now, Metagross has basically 2 extra units. He should kill this guy. He's got 2 extra units, and basically, evoprodo has more power because Metagross took some. Also, Metagross is up well, right? So basically, even power because Metagross has killed a lot more of evoprodo's units, right? Now, the problem is that you have void returns. So the longer the match goes on, the less Metagross's advantage is going to become, until at some point Metagross can basically spawn like 2 Sunstriders and then they'll be equal. That's the reason why you want to kill this guy, so you get void power back faster. So what Metagross should do right now is that he should pressure his opponent. I think especially because when you have the initiative like this, it's almost always better to pressure your opponent than to well up. If you can well up while pressuring your opponent, that's best. Or maybe not best, but that's a good thing to do. But as both players take wells that go up, then the advantage or different disadvantage that's going on gets lower. So, if you're playing a mirror match and your opponent has a lead in tier 1, then in general, increasing the well count is in your favor. Similarly, if you're playing a mirror match and your opponent is and you have a lead in tier 1, what you want to do is to avoid both players taking wells, right? So if you can take a well and your opponent can't, that's the best, but if it's either both of you well or neither of you well, it's usually better if neither of you well, assuming you have the advantage like Metagross has right here. Now, of course, there's other considerations, right? Like, maybe you want to take a well because you get map control, like if Metagross can take here and here, in theory, that's good, whereas his opponent would be stuck in the corner right here. But you also have to consider matchups. So evoprodo is starting fire, so if your opponent's playing fire, I would always assume they're playing pure fire. And if that's the case, you don't really want to have this position in Simai because fire dancers just cliff you from all over the place. So TLDW, I would not have taken this wall as Metagross. Maybe this wall is okay so he can get a position to attack, but he should be playing tier 1 a little more offensively than he is, instead of just passively walling up.
No escape.
Also, this guy needs to die. That's like 50 power bound, and 1 unit does not do anything. His opponent goes tier 2 and is Fire Nature. Okay, so Metagross is going to be relatively safe here, and he decides to go for a Rush. That can work versus Fire Nature. The problem is that it's against a Monument, which has 50% more health than a well. And of course the Monument is a lot closer, but it's probably better for him to walk over and attack the wells. This is a kind of judgment call that it's hard to say if there's like 50-degree right answer. The other problem is that Hurricane can take care of these guys, but it looks like he actually will get this down, so very good. Base tower is coming forward. So yeah, Metagross is in a very commanding lead. Good job, good rushing. His opponent should have used Hurricane to blow away all those Forsaken. And yeah, so now evoprodo has spent the 150 power building tier 2, so Metagross can just, as long as he prevents his opponent from going tier 1, he should be very fine. This guy looks like he's targeting this one, which is a waste of a shot. He could have targeted this guy and killed him in one while the Forsaken targeted the wrong time. And Metagross is not quite playing his power limit, so that's one thing he could do better. You know, if he made a Dread Charger, this could clean up a lot of these guys. Could be positioned for an nasty if his opponent makes plays like this. Frenzying everybody I don't think was necessary, but it will definitely stop the offensive, and as long as evoprodo does not go tier 2, then Metagross is fine. From evoprodo's side, I think instead of committing to this attack, he should have just played I think he should have gone back tier 2. Okay, I want to talk about what we just saw. I was a little bit late. Evoprodo just spawned Phase Thugs. So that's the thing I see beginners do all the time, and it's really bad because right now Metagross outnumbers evoprodo. Not only does he outnumber him, his guys are already activated with Forsaken, so they're gonna die anyway. And he's got the wall, so he can just spawn them. So if you make this Dazed Thugs, he's just gonna die. There's no way in which he doesn't die. Now, if you outnumber your opponent, then it's okay to spawn Dazed units, because you can micro your Dazed units so your opponent doesn't just focus them. But right now, there's nothing to stop Metagross from just focusing every single one of evoprodo's Dazed units, and then the units just die, and why even bother playing them in the first place? If you don't do it right, so he makes more, and evoprodo can spawn the Red Charger, there we go. These guys are just going to die without getting anything done. Like, even if they do kill the Forsaken, right? The Forsaken are frenzied, so they're going to die anyway. So you accomplish nothing by killing them. What Metagross could do is he could suck these guys up real fast. He doesn't do it. That's okay. He's still got a very commanding lead. Now, what I would do, if I were going to be a little bit more courageous, one thing you could do is you could run over here and you could take this monument. And if you take this monument, then since it's Fire Nature, he probably doesn't have Scorched Earth. If he does have Scorched Earth, then fine. You're going to lose your monument. Just break it. And you still have tempo advantage, actually, and you can rush things. But yeah, I would say this is taking this orb would just completely end the game, and evoprodo is completely out of it. But Metagross still has a lead, especially in this matchup of Lost Souls versus Fire Nature. It's pretty favorable for Lost Souls. Good attempt at microing from Metagross by trying to knock these guys back. Although in my opinion, I think just killing them with the Dread Charger is more efficient. See Skyfire Drake. He's fronting and focusing the Skyfire Drake, very good. And you see two Nightcrawlers, good root from evoprodo. And the lava field is going to speed things up, yeah. So that was good. In the end, it was fairly worth it to spend 120 plus 45 for 1180. Yeah, it was good 40 power worth it, yeah. But Metagross takes another well, and this is completely fine for him. My advice about trying to limit wells is good. And it's not like evoprodo is in a position where he can take another well. Metagross is going to be able to stay up close the whole time. And also in this particular matchup, Fire Nature has a really terrible tier 3. So if things get to tier 3, Lost Souls is almost always going to win this, even on equal power, or even behind on power. I've lost so many games as Fire Nature against Lost Souls, and I've won so many games as Lost Souls against Fire Nature. Disenchant on the Skylords Reborn, probably good, but the problem is that what Metagross can do right now, since let's count the power. So the Skylords Reborn is 100, Ravage is 50, Disenchant is 70, 75, 80, somewhere in there. I don't know that number off the top of my head. So 170 plus 50, let's say. So that's 230, 220 power. Okay, so he spent 220 power on this guy. The Storm Singer has spent 30 power. So what you could do, just run away with the Storm Singer, and then spawn a Nightcrawler or another Storm Singer right here. Walk up and Nasty, and then you kill the Drake and all the power spent with the Drake. So, meanwhile, this Burrower is over here attacking something. Is not going to get anything done because Storm Singer and he's one lone Burrower. It's hard to say what evoprodo can do right now. Disenchanting the Drake is not a good use of power, I think, because Metagross is up by 2 wells, so the game is honestly over, although of course it's a rookies tournament, so you never know what kind of mistake your opponent can make, and if you're not that good and your opponent's not that good, then absolutely don't quit until you're sure it's over. But in a high ranked match, this 2-well advantage, and especially with this matchup, there's no way evoprodo will get anything done. But that said, what you can attempt to do, you can go for a strong attack, and to push really hard, something like a Vile Blood. So that's why I take Vile Blood in my deck, is to have some big tempo pushes. I see Metagross is the one using the Merchant to push, and that's quite hard for Fire Nature to deal with. Although, again, if you attack the wells, they just die a lot faster, and assuming your opponent can rebuild, it's the same power difference. So, although in this situation, if you attack the wells, then you can attack different angles. So, it's hard to say which is better. Since Fire Nature has no building attacks, I do think that attacking this orb is the right move. And especially because Metagross has such an advantage, he can just kill the orb and then there's a second Lost Reborn. This guy's rooted, but this guy's not rooted. He can line leading, very good with him. And there's basically nothing Fire Nature can do to stop this from going down. So, yeah. That's very much GG. Although he's not quitting yet. One thing you can do, this guy's not famous. But Lost Reborn explosions are really strong because you kill like all of his heights. So if you can go this with, well, that works. Or even a Nightcrawler Nasty, I think they kill every game. So yeah, evoprodo is down to. The Metagross has a lot of power. What he could do, he could just spawn 2 Lost Reborns. I would go for Lost Reborns because they have a lot of health, so they're not susceptible to eruption. What evoprodo could do is he could hit this Nightcrawler just a little bit to get it down to 300 health, and then he could erupt it. But at this point, the game's over, and it's yeah. I would say this is a point where even as a rookie, you can say there's no coming back from this. And, you know, Metagross is playing quite well. He's making mostly good moves, mostly good micro mistakes. There's not too much to nitpick on. So, yeah, well played from him. And, yeah, so it looks like that's game 1 for Metagross. Then game 2, obviously, it now goes to game 3, so obviously game 2 Metagross is going to lose, but let's check that one out. And we're back with game 2, Metagross versus evoprodo. I see this was in Tiny's. Was this streamed live? Okay, well, maybe it was streamed live. In that case, this will be out there in some form in 2 ways. Once as a live cast and once as a kind of analysis. This is Haladur, so both players, both players take the first well. It's generally what I recommend. If you feel like your opponent outskills you in tier 1, and what you can do is you can take the second wall so you don't get locked out of map control. Now what Metagross is doing, yeah, so let's comment on this real fast. So Metagross is doing what I think he should do, especially against Shadow versus Fire, where Shadow has the early advantage, is he should be trying to take map control away from evoprodo. Now if he fails the rush, then I mean there's consequences, but it's not nearly as great as if he doesn't fail the rush. So I mean he doesn't even have to do anything, right? He just needs to push evoprodo back, and then he can defend this wall position. So even like a nasty, which is not that good, like if you nasty to kill 2 Sunstriders, so you kill 110 power, 110 of yours for 100 of your opponents, and you damage a scavenger, so the scavenger runs away to heal. Even though it's not power efficient, it gives you a good map control, which is, you know, your opponent's just fight out of the map. So that's all I'm thinking about. That's why I think Shadow should always be coming to attack, and why as Fire you might want to wait and go here, so that Shadow does not have that initiative to attack you. Second thing is that Metagross is doing good. He's spawning 2 units right away. evoprodo is not spawning those units. So there's 2 units from his opponent, 1 unit from you. You're just going to lose that fight at the end. Unless your opponent walks into a bad eruption, which might be what evoprodo is hoping for. But I think you should play as if your opponent is not going to make a mistake. And if they do, obviously capitalize it, but don't be hoping for such mistakes. So yeah.
Death will have.
And also, the earlier you spawn your units, the earlier they'll go on a days. Metagross pulls back. I don't know why that happens. If he just kept going when evoprodo makes those guys, then he can just nasty them. And it looks like the nasty still would be fine here as long as you pull back so you hit these 3 Sunstriders, because they're dazed, right? So they'll die even if they're Dread Charger not at full health. But now we're fighting, and okay, good frenzy. That was not a good nasty. evoprodo should be hitting the ones which are not dazed. You could kill them. But okay, actually, the nasty worked out, and Metagross is fine. I think you should just clamp up here, right? He's got the map control. He puts an archer here. He puts an archer here. He puts an archer here, and anything evoprodo tries to do will just take so much damage before it even gets out of the choke point. So, especially having 2 Forsaken already spawned, that's a very strong position for Metagross. There's no reason for him to back off and give evoprodo room to do anything. Right? Like if evoprodo wants to rush, he can rush you from here or from here. It's not a huge difference. And you know, this way you let evoprodo back into the map, and he's got a well. So I think Metagross could have clenched up the game and finished it right here. But again, we're seeing he did what he did last time, which is he's kind of waiting for power. I'm not sure if he's waiting to go tier 2, or okay, there's Dread Charger. You can see Metagross is not playing at his power limit, so he can spawn, for example, 2 more Forsaken, which would really make a difference in this fight. You know, that's something that even intermediate players don't do a lot, is they don't play at their power limit. I'm guilty of this a lot. You don't play your power limit, and you don't bring enough units to the fight. It's simple math. If you bring more players than your opponent, you're gonna win. It's a lot of high level tier 1 fights come down to like who spawns the first unit, because if your unit gets out of base a little bit earlier, then your units will do more damage. Instant Frenzy. I don't agree with the Instant Frenzy. I think that's too much, and they're not going to kill anything before they die. So you could have gotten, I think, a little more damage out of them, and then attacked them a little bit, and then frenzied them. And there's the Hurricane. So because they're frenzied, the Hurricane is just going to kill them. If they weren't frenzied, then you would have forced evoprodo to spend more time killing them, and you could have made your you could have made more units to attack or defend, or do something. And while we're seeing a Stormsinger versus a Skyfire Drake, Stormsinger is actually not that, like, Skylords Reborn is an M counter, so it does counter Stormsinger. So Stormsinger is quite good against Skylords Reborn at your own turf, but if you're fighting your opponent where you can just spawn more units undazed, then Stormsinger is not the it's not that good to just run after Skylords Reborn, because Stormsinger can incapacitate it, but it is not going to have an easy time killing it. Meanwhile, the Skylords Reborn is coming over here, maybe to prop the unit out, but I'm not sure if that's worth it. Nightcrawler, a lava field would take care of things here if evoprodo has the power. He does not. Um, but I think you could heal. You could heal, and okay, he died. Meanwhile, a Stormsinger was attacking this Skyfire Drake. If this happens, as the fire player, you can just ravage your Drake, and it will beat it'll beat the Stormsinger. So if you do that, you can basically force your opponent to play 2 Stormsingers, and then you can run and do something else. But the problem with that is the Stormsinger is so useful. It's not like a great inconvenience to your opponent to force him to spawn Stormsingers. It's like that's what he wants to use anyway. Spears coming to attack, and not sure what the Gladiatrix is for. Maybe to attack a Lost Reaver if it comes, but you probably don't want to make counters for units your opponent hasn't made yet, unless there's a cooldown like Nightguard or something. Root works on Nightcrawler, does not work on the Dark Elf Assassins, so the Ghost Spears died, and so did the Pediatrix. So Metagross is still doing good.
A power well is under attack.
And evoprodo makes a attack here. Ooh, that nasty did not quite work. Good heal. Okay, so this is where evoprodo gets his big tempo swing. He's running away, and meanwhile this firmware is doing pretty good damage. Nightcrawler's going to take care of it well. The Oink... Oh, I don't think the Oink was really worth it. I think he could have run away, or he could have walked away and ravaged. Good double trick from Metagross. And evoprodo is healing up both of his Drakes. So they're both... Metagross has 1 extra well over evoprodo, right? So as long as Metagross defends, then he's just going to be continuing in advantage. On the other hand, evoprodo has a lot more power on the field, and Skyfire Drakes can be scary. One thing you want to do is you don't want to put them so close together, because the less than frozen, or Dark Elf Assassins, or Nasty. So, it's obviously a lot harder to micro them individually than to just click them both and click where you want to go, but if you want to increase your level of play, that's what you need to do. You need to micro those Drakes separately instead of just putting them together. Good gravity surge. We have the heal. It looks like this guy's going to die, and then this one's CC'd. The Burrower is coming in, but again, this lives, just barely. You could have frostbitten it, and that would have prevented it from living. But, yeah. Don't chase after this guy, right? Just focus this one. If he got away, then he gets away. That's, it's what it is. You're not gonna stop that. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler taking out the Burrower. The Nightcrawler frenzied, so the Burrower is not that unworth it. But yeah, Burrower can just be countered by the 60 Burrower 70 power unit and Nightcrawler 60, which just counters it. You can force out a Kobold, but you have to spend a Ravage. So yeah. But since the Nightcrawler did die, it was mostly an even trade. evoprodo finally decides to take a second well, or third well. But meanwhile, Metagross has had these 3 wells up for a lot longer. So, good clamping down from Metagross. At this point, I still think Metagross should win. That route was relatively effective by evoprodo, but the problem is he doesn't have any units to kill things. This Gladiatrix is not that useful because Gladiatrix is an L counter. The L unit is putting back here. Stormseekers are M counters, so I think a better use of power if he had power, which he did not. Better use of power would have been to use a Lava Field instead of making that Gladiatrix. Good routine. And a lot of these units are attack on. With a little bit of focus fire, evoprodo could have prevented this wall from dropping, but it looks like this wall is going to drop. This looks like an offensive Aura of Corruption. Not sure what that was for, maybe a misclick. If you nasty, you kill both Drakes and damage this, so I think a nasty would have definitely been worth it. You use the ability, evoprodo needs to definitely focus these guys. They don't have much health, and when they explode, they die really fast. Looks like he froze, but yeah, that freeze was just not worth it. And now, evoprodo lost a well, but Metagross has kind of given up his big tempo advantage, because his Reaver died for nothing. If he had nasty used again, he would have killed both Drakes and damaged stuff, so that would have been very worth it. But now evoprodo has a big tempo advantage. I'm not sure if the freeze reinforcement can just take care of 2 burrowers. Um, I mean, that's okay, but probably better is if you let it do some damage, and then you just use a Glacier Shell. Yeah, so everything's fine here. Metagross has a lot of power that you could, for example, the Nightcrawler is punching everything, like the Lost Reaver would walk over here and kill everything. But yeah, so if you move the Storm Singer, you just run a little bit so that he hits the opponent instead of his own walls, and then Nasty and everything else. You could also use our Copeland Trick. It looks like Equal might actually drop though. Maybe the Glacier Shell means Copeland Tricks and cooldown. But Metagross is still up a wall, right? It's not great, but again, one Lost Reaver, Nasty, and everything's good. I think that's a better solution than to just keep freezing, because I mean, Fire Nature has heal, right? So if you're gonna freeze, you Focus Fire, so these 2 guys hitting different ones is not that good. And evoprodo makes a split front attack. So it looks like Metagross is having some trouble fighting on 2 fronts at once, and he's lost some power a little bit, and yeah, so good comeback from evoprodo. I definitely think this was a comeback. And Metagross, yeah, for Metagross, I think some advice for you is that you should try to get more comfortable defending with Nasty Surprise. It's extremely powerful. Nasty Surprise on a Storm Singer or Nightcrawler will kill 3 Skyfire Drakes, and on a Lost Reaver to kill even more. So yeah, evoprodo is running through the map now that Metagross is Metagross is tier 1. He has no Frost Protects, and this is what Fire Nature does. Well, you load up a lot of offensive, you move really fast, you CC the defenders, and he didn't even have to move around this, because I think he could have killed this before it even built up in the first place. So the reason why you run a spread is to avoid freeze, but there's no ground presence, there's not even turn 2 to freeze, so that's not something to worry about. Yeah, there's a good Nasty, right? So you can see the power of a Nasty Surprise. If he had done this a lot earlier, it would have been better. Meanwhile, evoprodo kicks a wall down here, and this is very much evoprodo's game, and Metagross has lost everything just like that. So yeah, this was definitely a micro game. Looks like the Drake hit the Nightcrawler first, so it didn't kill everything. That's gonna kill most things, and there's no kill for evoprodo, so the Skyfire Drake can probably kill the rest of us in one shot. Yeah. Yeah, so good game from evoprodo. This was a game I think that really hinged on the micro, and this micro mistake and not good defense from Metagross. Maybe he has a quest to play a bunch of shadow cards. I'm not sure what's going on here, but yeah, so that's game 2, and now we go to game 3, where we see who wins the final, or who advances in this tournament that happened a while ago. This is game 3 between Metagross and evoprodo. Looks like Metagross wanted to go back to Simai, because that's where he won his first game. And it looks like they're going to take their same opening of both taking the second well. evoprodo takes it, or Metagross takes it, and evoprodo takes his. So since Metagross took his first, evoprodo is safe to take. Metagross comes in for the center for an early engagement. Actually, since you know what your opponent plays, assuming that evoprodo hasn't mixed it up with Purifier, then Shadow Frost, which is what Metagross plays, he can just kind of wall up aggressively, because as things get to a tier 3 stage, it's just going to be really bad for evoprodo. So this early aggression is good if you are playing against Purifier, where Purifier will outscale you, but in this case, Fire Nature doesn't outscale you, so you have a kind of advantage of knowing what your opponent plays. The wall, I don't agree with this wall. It's going to give Metagross map presence, but it's going to give evoprodo a large tempo lead. Right? His base tower is 50, the wall is 50, so there's basically 100 power, and evoprodo can just go tier 2 and attack somewhere else. That nasty was not worth it. For one, it was 110 power versus 100, which could be worth it in a tempo lead if you're attacking. But the bigger issue is that evoprodo is going tier 2, and he wants to get rid of his units anyway. So it's not good to trade um, uh, trade like that, right? And usually when you have tier 1 versus tier 2, the concession is that the tier 1 player has gotten an extra wall. And that's not the case right now, because Metagross played this try and defend nothing, because he didn't have build a wall there. And he's just down, and that's a good Ravage. The Forsaken are not going to be able to kick it, and then he can come and take out the Space Tower. There's no burst that Shadow has without ground presence or without even a nasty. So yeah, there's a weird interaction. Now there's the Dread Charger, which does nasty. So what Metagross can be thinking about is, even with Ravage, right after the Phase Tower shoots the Skyfire Drake, he can nasty and Skyfire Drake with a full health. Okay, Metagross has gone for 2, by the way. And he throws Animus into this guy. Spawning undazed units is not what I would, or spawning dazed units is not what I would recommend doing. It looks like they'll get out of daze, but they're not going to get much done in the meantime, and the Skyfire Drake is going to be an excellent counter to these M units. evoprodo is moving in to attack with his Burrower. I actually don't agree with this, because even though a Burrower is not a medium counter, but a Nightcrawler is a medium counter, the Skyfire Drake is also a medium counter. So the Skyfire Drake and the Burrower together will kill all of this quite efficiently, and then you can move in together with the Burrower. But now, as it stands, there's not any ground presence, so the Skyfire Drake needs to be worried. Maybe not that worried, because as long as you shoot the Nightcrawler before he gets out of the mic, then it won't be a nasty to worry about. But it's something to think about. Even though this is not even though this is a siege unit, you can still use it for things besides siege. Good nasty from good nasty from Metagross. Or I guess okay nasty. Nasty is not technically efficient, but Skyfire Drakes are hard to deal with, so it's fine. We got the 2 Burrowers at the wall. That didn't look like a fully efficient Kobold trick. You could have waited until it was like 1,000 health, and then Kobold tricked it. Glacier Shell. Looks like the Burrowers are gonna die. And again, Glacier Shell I don't think was necessary. I think he could have waited until it was lower and lower, and then used Kobold trick again.
Storm Singer ready.
And yeah, because when you see Glacier Shells, then it's kind of 50 power spent doing nothing, because your opponent just instantly switches targets, and he's fast, so he can run away. So what Metagross should do is he should Frostbite him, and then for 20 power, he'll kill this Burrower. Meanwhile, evoprodo is going on an attack with 2 Burrowers. evoprodo is pretty good at doing that, at splitting his attacks and going for once. Once again, we see a freeze from Metagross. And again, I think these freezes are not really that efficient. It's like 80 power, maybe 70 power. I don't know the freeze cost. I don't play Frost. But just to stop 2 Burrowers for like 20 seconds, you have Kobold Trick, and you have Glacier Shell. 2 Burrowers are not going to get through that when you're making a bunch of Nightcrawlers and stuff. Now, sure, when you've got 2 Burrowers and the wall is getting low and all your own units are oinked, then maybe it makes sense to freeze. But at this point, he kills this quite easily, but he's got a bunch of power down here, and now the Burrowers down here are going to be less scary. Now, if Metagross freezes right now, I'll be upset, because this guy's not even out of daze. Metagross could make a Nightcrawler, and actually this is getting quite low. His units are coming in to defend, which is not the right move in my opinion. Glacier Shell's good, he's going to defend. Okay, you made a split attack, but where did the rest of... Did you just have 2 Nightcrawlers? I thought you had some Dark Elves and stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's a dead Dread Charger, just suicided for no reason. But yeah, I would have taken these Nightcrawlers, and if he had a Stormzinger or a Dark Elf to come attack. But okay. So far, everything's fine. Power levels are low, which is good for evoprodo. But the game goes on to the void level increases, which is generally good for Metagross. As the game progresses, Metagross is going to be, if he gets to tier 3, it's just really bad for evoprodo. And evoprodo takes a well. But yeah, at this level where it's like low power walls but high void, I think it's a good position for
Storm Singer.
evoprodo in this matchup. This is the part where Fire Nature wants to try and make something happen. Okay, we've got a bunch of damage, which would be pretty efficiently countered by Skyfire Drake plus an Oink, and Metagross goes up a well. So now it is on Proto to make something happen. Of course, he does have burrowers, which are specifically made for attacking wells, but Metagross has 3 M counters here. Looks like this burrower is coming in to do a sneak attack on the side. Metagross is looking to... Oh, he's going tier 3. Okay. So evoprodo is going tier 3, which can be good because Giant Slayers are really strong in the early tier 3. So this is probably the situation where I'd say it's... Again, this freeze... I don't think it's working. Metagross has so much power, he could just make units to defend it. But yeah, so if you spawn a Giant Slayer at every base, actually against tier 2, it's not going to do that much, because Nightcrawlers are quite good against Giant Slayers, so if Metagross has the power advantage, which he does, because he just has 250 power bound, then he should be able to defend this pretty easily. But he goes tier 3 also. So going tier 3, he's got power bound here, of course, evoprodo has power bound with tier 2 as well. And instead of defending, I would just go and attack and spawn new units to defend over here. evoprodo is not making anything yet, but he is doing significant... Okay, I don't think the... I mean, maybe it's worth it. Hard to see. And we've got a Giant Slayer. So, Metagross is... He used the Glacier Shell instead of the Cobalt Trick, so I think that's going to drive it for sure. If he used Cobalt Trick first, then maybe he would have had power, but it looks like he's in a situation where he didn't have that much power, partly because he used this Gifted Grace. Timeless One is one to stop his offensive. And Metagross is quite low on power. Evoprodo does have some power. And yeah, Metagross is he's pulling his units from the front lines to the back lines to defend, which is where evoprodo's tempo advantage is coming from, because Metagross is not getting anything done offensively, because he's always just running back. So this is good play from evoprodo, and I think the takeaway for Metagross here is to, it's okay to spawn more units. Like, for example, if you make a Nightcrawler, you just instantly frenzy him and counter 2 burrowers, like, that's as power efficient or more power efficient than spending 70 power on a piece. So, burrower here, Timeless One to defend. Timeless One is not that good unless... I'm not sure why he's making burrowers though, Giant Slayers are just better. Yeah, but Silver Wind Lancer I think would be more effective to counter. There we go, good Silver Wind. And now Metagross comes in with an army to attack. He is down 2 wells, but this game's not over. So far, we don't know if evoprodo has anything in his deck besides Giant Slayers. And good Cobalt Trick. And there's a Vulcan. Okay, he doesn't have a Vulcan. Looks like he's playing a regular Gifted Flame deck. He should possibly frenzy these Nightcrawlers. If he erupts his Silver Wind Lancer, actually, that'll kill the Vulcan. And maybe the well. Or not erupt, he nasties it. Meanwhile, these guys are here not doing anything. Yeah, it looks like he's going to get that orb down. And, oh, not quite. It's so close. Yeah, he should spawn something really nasty, so... yeah, that orb was so close. Just, a little bit further nasty would have made a difference, I think. And again, these Silver Ones can nasty right now, kill this, damage this, and then the Timeless One can take care of the Giant Slayer, and you'll have tempo to come in attack. Looks like this Giant Slayer is going to kill the Timeless One. What he can do is run away with the Timeless One. Okay, no, the Giant Slayer is going to die, he's backed away. And Vulcan versus Immunants. Vulcan is going to shred the Silver Lancers, but Vulcan and Silver Lancers are no pushover either. There's the freeze. And good for evoprodo not using the Vulcan ability, because if we use the Vulcan ability, then it will get cancelled when you freeze it. And so that was like that 40 or 50 power wasted. I'm not sure I agree with spawning gaze units here because at this point, evoprodo has the unit advantage. So if he just spawns units into his death trap, it's not going to be that good. What I think Metagross should do is possibly well up because, you know, Fire Nature definitely has a power limit where if it has too much power, it just can't use it. Take Nasty. Okay, not Nasty those guys. And maybe he'll Nasty these guys. Looks like the Giant Slayer is kiting them quite well. Yeah. So, very good play from evoprodo right now. The freeze. I mean, it hits a lot of units, but it's not really that worth it because what are you going to do to you don't have any units to attack him? Meanwhile, evoprodo is going to attack here. Very good freeze from the Timeless one. evoprodo could disenchant to continue that attack. And if he just nasties these, the ones at full health, if he just nasties them, this is not, right? Or light beam, even light beam. But he doesn't do that, and this lives. But if you want to attack, if you want to kill these guys, killing them in defense is a lot easier. You can, right? Once they're at your base, you can freeze them, and you can Aura Corruption, and then they just die, right? So now if you Aura Corruption, you can spawn a Silver Wind and kill all of this. Metagross does defend this position here, but this whole time he's down 2 Ls, don't forget. So, very good defense being down 2 Ls. But I think at some point, because it's not like 5 wells versus 7 wells, it's like, actually it's like 4 wells versus, 4 wells versus 4 wells. Metagross is taking his wells back. So actually, no, as the game progresses, Metagross is not losing tempo. Or sorry, he's not losing power. Although he does have a power disadvantage from Void because of losing these 2 wells down here earlier. Like his Vulcan is putting in the damage. The freeze is stopping things. Again, if you make a Lyrish Knight, walk over here and come nasty, you'll kill for sure the Jade's Bond, for sure this one here, and he could work down on this guy too. Our option would also work, but Metagross' power is pretty low. These guys were immune to the freeze. If he waited just a few more seconds, then he could have frozen all of them. And now he resorts to his short stop. So, Metagross, my advice for you is Gold Snap less. Vulcan's other days. I'm still not sure how evoprodo is going to tip this mix, to be honest. I think if he makes some, let's take a look. If he makes some Giant Slayers over here and comes in for a flank attack, I think that's the best way to do this. Oh, okay, well Metagross looks like he doesn't. Okay, well, there we go, activating all the abilities at once. And Metagross doesn't have power to deal with that difference, and the whole base drops. Okay, that works too. I think for Metagross, I think the Aura of Corruption would have been a good way to defend this here. Night Guard is not doing anything, and here comes the push for tier 3 against tier 2. So at this point, I'd say the game is over. And yeah, good game, very exciting. I think Metagross played his first game very, very well. The next 2 were less clean, and I think a lot of the tactical mistakes were due to making inefficient cold snaps and letting evoprodo get like a 2-pronged attack that couldn't be defended against. And evoprodo did a good job making these attacks to penetrate Terra Frost. It is not that easy to do. So yeah, looks like Metagross is hanging on, he doesn't want to quit. Again, that's fine. If you're a beginner and you think there's a chance that if the rules were reversed, you would not be able to lose a game, then sure. But yeah. Okay, so that's the game. Thanks for watching. I hope this was not too boring. I hope you learned something and that my commentary was helpful.